I think all lives, when you're 60 years old, you've had lots of turning points in your life. The biggest turning point in my life was the loss of my right lower leg when I was 14 years old to a hunting accident, a shotgun blast. I was a Iowa farm boy, but was big and fast for a 14-year-old, and was kind of seen as this emerging young athlete. So to have a life-changing event at 14 when you truly should have died, you make choices and you make decisions about your life. I think that you can sit around and say, why me, poor me, or you can kind of move on, you can kind of get on with it. And I was a get on with it kid. And I decided that I needed to live a fulfilled life, and do good things. That I didn't die for a reason, and I wanted to do good things, which meant that I was going to practice medicine in some form. My dad was a country chiropractor, and I saw the benefit of hands-on medicine. I wanted to follow in those footsteps in some way. So I wanted to do good things, and I think BG Fit really is one of those things. And that if we can improve the quality of people's lives through BG Fit, I've done something good. Like everybody else, I rode a bike as a kid, rode it through college. My very first purchase on time was a Swin Typhoon, so I could deliver papers to raise money. So I've been riding a bicycle like all of us for life, but seriously got into cycling in my mid-20s when I was an amateur ski racer and athletic trainer at the University of Colorado, and used the bike always as a summer off-snow training tool. I got into formalized racing shortly thereafter, worked my way through the categories like everybody else, became a Cat 2, which as a below-the-knee amputee was quite an accomplishment. I think if you look at my palmares, I think being a Category 2 able-bodied racer is as important to me as 2 World Disabled Championships. There's multiple factors that got me into in bicycle fitting and bicycle medicine at the level we are today. First of all, you got to be in the right place at the right time. That was Boulder, Colorado, which was the hotbed of American cycling in the 70s and 80s. It still is, but even then it was the hotbed in the States. So you had this pool of people who needed care. I was a cyclist. They all knew that. I was the director of sports medicine at the university in Boulder at that time. So it was the perfect storm. So the first people that ever got BG Fit were high performance athletes who came to me with an injury, and I had to work backwards. Their knee hurt on the inside. I had to figure out what about their pedal system, what about their bike fit, what about their training helped cause that injury, and work backwards. Before Boulder Center for Sports Medicine, truly post-collegiate athletes had no place to seek medical care by a multiple number of disciplines under the same roof. So I went from the university into a private orthopedic practice and attempted to develop this kind of concept. And we were semi-successful. The combination of my work with the Olympic Training Center, the U.S. cycling team, and a small orthopedic practice in Denver led me to believe that all athletes deserved this kind of care. So the Boulder Center for Sports Medicine was opened basically in 1998 in the vision of an Olympic Training Center open to the public, and that's what we've been successful at doing. Well, 30 years ago, bicycle fitting was basically a sizing all done from the side view or the XY plane. Bill Farrell at the New England Cycling Academy in the late 80s invented the thing called the Fit Kit in an attempt to instrument and help guide bicycle fitting. It was really an XY tool and a cleat positioning tool. So those were the early attempts at really modernizing and scientifically placing people on bicycles. A man named Gideon Ariel, who's an Israeli biomechanist and was also a coach with the Israeli track and field team, had developed the 3D motion capture process, primarily used in running at that time. So he called me and said, I will give you all of this expensive material, all of this hardware, if you will figure out how to study cycling in 3 dimensions. We had just transitioned, or were transitioning from traditional flat pedal, quill, old style pedals and wooden sole or plastic sole shoes with nail on or screw on cleats. We were transitioning to the black look fixed cleat system. So knee injuries were absolutely epidemic. And the question was float. So the second pedal system that had come along in the mid-'80s was the time system. And it had this spring-loaded float. So the question being asked by everybody was, how much float do we need? I said it's based on tibial rotation. So we set out to use the 3D system to measure tibial rotation, which we now know can't be measured because the tibia rotates underneath the skin, and the markers that we place on the skin were not actually measuring tibial rotation. So the second most important factor was to be able to measure medial lateral knee travel, which is a waste of movement. So we quickly transitioned from measuring tibial rotation to medial lateral knee travel, which today is still our primary target when looking at knee alignment while cycling. Summer of 1999, Roger Minkow, based on the success of his body geometry saddle design, came to me to talk about the potential of body geometry shoe designs and what I'd learned over my years of working with cyclists, what I might put into an everyday cycling shoe. BG cycling shoe was born in the fall of 1999, and the first model year for the shoe was 2000. Mike Sinyard came to me, we were at a dealer event in Santa Cruz, and he said, I'd really like to develop a fit tool based on, and there were several formulas at the time that were quite popular. There was the body snatchers and the all kinds of different formulas out there that made bike fitting look easy. And I said, well, I don't think it's going to be as easy as you think it is. I think there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this bike fitting thing. I said, but if anybody can help us to develop a tool, it would be Ben Serrata. So I had helped Ben Serrata with the original Serrata Fit class, engineering genius, an artist. And we partnered with Ben to develop what we thought were the best tools at the time. And the truth of the matter is, they were great tools to assure a successful test ride, but they were not bike fit tools. And on the failure of that process, I finally convinced Mike that what we needed was a bike fitting school, and that individuals at bike shops were the best bike fit tools that we had access to, and we had them all over the world. So why specialize? And I'm asked this on a regular basis, and it became obvious to me early on that Mike Sinyard, the owner of the company, had a vision about a very special bike company. He was not afraid to be off the front. He was not afraid to take chances. He was not afraid to make a mistake or two along the way in the goal of success. When I learned about the Specialized Dealer Alliance and how faithful dealers were and how big the dealer family was around the world, I thought this is a company that can help deliver a very important message about injuries and performance and bicycle fit and willing to do so without being afraid of being off the front. With the strength of Specialized, global reach, instead of seeing 20 patients a day in my office, I can actually touch maybe thousands of people a day worldwide through the reach of SBCU and BG Fit. There are lots of success stories where we've truly changed people's lives. I get as much pleasure out of saving a lifestyle as I get out of making a Pro Tour rider faster. I mean, I get as much pleasure out of those things. Amputees, multiple sclerosis sufferers, they've all benefited from BG Fit. There was a gentleman who came to visit us with a shattered elbow, and he had a locked elbow, and he ended up with 2 very distinct hand positions, 2 separate handlebars, 2 separate stems, all on one steer tube that made a bicycle rideable for him. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's truly thousands of success stories. I would even be thrilled to hear from our retailers. I'll bet you every retailer has got one customer where they saved a lifestyle.